I remember sitting at the front desk of the Women's Center on the second day of classes. I had just followed these two seniors and they were talking and they said feminism. And I said, I actually don't know what that is.
There are a large number of societies in the world that are sexually equal, that is, tribal societies. I wanted the world to understand how male dominance develops.
Opportunity, equal opportunity, is the foundational value of our society and of all flourishing democracies.
As a matter of fact, when I was younger, I used to break the world into women's libbers and feminists. And women's libbers were self-seeking people. They only cared about their own interests. Feminists cared about society. Feminists had, as well as a feminist analysis, also a racial analysis.
The word feminist, for me, I associate is something that white women invented.
All people should be treated equally and should be presented with the same opportunities, regardless of what they look like or where they came from or what anatomical parts they have.
I'm like one of those like old school feminists in a way. I really think that feminism is the key and the solution to everything.
Feminism is this very radical belief that women should not be disadvantaged simply because they're women.
Feminism to me is the umbrella. It's like the way in which, you know, you can, if you really want to imagine change both on a kind of micro and macro level, you have to think of feminism as a tool or a strategy in order to create social justice, social change.
And I think that that's what a feminist does. They want to empower, support, encourage, and that's what I think I do every day in my job.
With community comes strength. With multiple voices comes songs. And with songs, the spirit is lifted and right prevails.
It was my mother and my grandmother and all of the four mothers who were the maids and the keepers of this place we call the University of Pennsylvania.
Look at our history and appreciate the journey, but definitely look at our future and the things that we can do.
I came to Penn in 1972.
I came in 81 and I left in 92.
As a tenured associate professor. I was the first female ever hired in the oldest anthropology department in the country.
It is true. When I came, most of the women I came in with were denied tenure.
There were constant reminders as I moved through those days and as I look back at it, that women were not present at Penn, certainly in the ways that they are now in 1977.
To just get to the point where women have the rights on campus that we have was a struggle. It was not that people on high said, gee whiz, we should have some better policies here. It was a movement and people took risks and in terms of how they were perceived for speaking out, and I'm very grateful to them.
We had a sit-in held College Hall for a number of days. It was the end of the anti-war movement. We wouldn't let men participate with us. We had a very effective sit-in demanding better police service, better security, and along with that, a women's studies program and a women's center.
I came in 1989, and when I came, the Women's Center was housed at Houston Hall.
But it was obvious to all of us that we were sort of basement citizens, or third class or fourth class citizens.
Well, I directed the Women's Studies program 2 different times. As I said, I was part of the negotiating team that established the Women's Center. I was on the committee that selected some of the early directors.
The frat house that we're in, where the Women's Center is now, was one of, by the time I got here, there was not so good. That was the one where they would drag the couches out on the lawn, sit on the lawn, and when women would walk by, they would rank them.
At the end of the day, when they got the space on Locust Walk, I remember that we were all rejoicing.
Getting the Women's Center into its current location at Locust Walk and 37th was a big deal. That the Women's Center used to be housed in sort of smaller places wherever the decision makers decided there was a little space to stick it.
I do remember first coming into this space and having a little library, you know, and just having a space to hang out. You know, I spent a lot of time just hanging out here my senior year. All the good friends that I'm in touch with now are friends that I've met here.
I kind of assumed that this university would have resources for people going to first-time parenthood, and I was surprised that there was nothing. I started looking, and so I approached Litty at the Women's Center and to set up a parent group for myself, like, because I just wanted to meet other people who were going through the same things. And going through lactation, for example, I was surprised that there were no lactation spaces on campus except for the space in the Women's Center.
When I came to Penn, my freshman year, there were a string of sexual assaults that happened on campus and actually, you know, got publicity. So for me, it was like how the school handled sexual assault and how we talked about sexual assault on campus. And I really wanted to be a part of something that would reframe how we spoke about it, instead of it being victim blaming, just getting to the heart of understanding sexual assault.
I always imagine what the world would have been like for me if I had Take Back the Night. When I go to the Take Back a Night events that are currently being held, that are sponsored by the Penn Women's Center, and I hear survivors share their stories, I'm so moved and honored and humbled to be in their presence and their company.
All of the work done by my peers and my fellow activists and advocates at the Women's Center, all of that work was around protecting the human voice and challenging structures that weren't humane or were unjust, and re-envisioning a world where we recognize our shared humanity.
The Women's Center was the space to bring those concerns, and you knew they would be metabolized into action.
What I wish for women today is to have some of the fire and anger and energy of the women's movement of 40 years ago. I know that a lot has been accomplished, and I take great pride in that. But we're not done. We are not done.
I would find what you're not exposed to, because you never really know what you don't know until you find it. And I think it's really easy to seek out spheres of knowledge or just general spaces that you're uncomfortable in.
Go and use the 4 years to find out what you like and what you're really committed to or really passionate about, and don't be discouraged if it's not the sexy or the cool thing to be into.
Remember who you are, love yourself, and know that everything that you do and everything that's happened to you in your life is just going to make you a better person.
People need to find places and homes on campus that nurture their spirit. I believe that the Penn Women's Center is such a place.
The Penn Women's Center is a home for many people.
A safe haven for women.
This is the first place I wanted to come back after being away for so long. It just feels, there's a general feeling of home here.
Fun.
Penn Women's Center is home.
Compassion.
The Penn Women's Center is my home.
And even more importantly, it has a place for men as well.
Strength.
A voice for the community.
A space of possibility, a space of exploration.
I think the Penn Women's Center was home for me.
It can be and should be the space that we do things differently.
It is a place that celebrates diversity and also difference.
a space where gender could be in conversation with race and class and sexuality and disability, to find safety and activism, to deal with rage and pleasure, where women got to meet each other, be good to each other, and know they could lean back and somebody would catch them.
Very important entity on this campus.
There's still really ugly, bad stuff going on, and we need a women's center to confront it and take care of it.
It's a space where you can find role models.
The place that can really be the conscience of the University of Pennsylvania.
The Penn Women's Center is absolutely essential.
But then also where you can build a community.
A lighthouse for women on campus of all colors and ethnicities and sexual orientations.
So the Penn Women's Center is a real physical presence on our campus that reminds us of how important it is that there be equal opportunity for women. And I'm very proud that Penn supports a women's center because it's an ongoing reminder both of the progress women have made and the progress that still has to be made for women, especially in universities. We are educational institutions, so we should be sending the message loud and clear that equality of women is absolutely essential